Today, I want to talk about Fermentvm Nigrvm Dei Sepvlti. Now, this is basically a repeat of this, Blood in the Chocolate. Blood in the Chocolate was a module I've reviewed it before. It's basically Charlie in the Chocolate Factory as a module. Find the map. Yeah, so here's a map. See how pretty and colorful the map is? So this is a repeat of that, only instead of chocolate, it's beer. And so the first one, it gave you all this detail about how chocolate is made, and this one gives you all this detail about how beer is made. And like many this published by Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and like many Lamentations modules, it has some useful information on the inside cover. That's true of the back too. It's got this little thing here that has some more information on it, which you don't have to have that. But it's much less colorful. It's got these gray maps. And I play, in order to get people to play a Lamentations game, I play online and draw people from all over the world. And so when I tried to use these maps in my online game, it was really hard to see what these are maps of. Did not work out too well. But basically, it's about a monastery where the monks make beer. And then something weird happened. So it goes on into a bunch of side notes, some information about the abbey where all this takes place, and the weird stuff that's going on. There's a timeline of what happened before you got here, and then there's the black barm, the weird mold that makes this beer. And there's all these notes in various languages in there. And so, just like in the first one, in Blood on the Chocolate, if you ate the weird candy, weird things would happen to you, like the person ate the blueberry stuff and turned into a giant blueberry. Well, there's weird stuff that happens if you drink the beer. This takes place in Germany, so lots of German words. Here's some notes on approaching the abbey. Yeah, so it's got, here's a inn. It has some rumors, that's nice. And this didn't get used much by my players. They stayed there not even a whole night before they snuck out to find out what's going on. And so they didn't get the loot that's at the inn. And here's the abbey on fire. Here's a repeat of the map that was on the inside cover. And some of the monsters. So more. I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, it's basically a brewery in which weird stuff is happening and the players explore it. And you can weaponize the ingredients, and this is a really fun thing, weaponizing ingredients. At one point, one of the people fighting the players jumped onto a chute to try to slide down to a lower level, and they moved the chute, so instead he fell into a vat of hot mash and burned to death. Another player who had min-maxed himself to the point where he couldn't move without an enchanted set of armor fell into the mash, So then he became even more like Darth Vader. And so there's lots of tactics for the monks to use against you if you decide to fight them. And so there's several pages of what goes on in the brewery, and the secret cave, and there's an underground layer section of it, which is keyed out for you. There's different things that can happen. And there's a rival team of adventurers who are also exploring this. And a grimoire. You know, in case you're a magic user who wants some new spells, there's a grimoire that can allow that. That didn't get used much. And it has a ritual in it that you can do stuff with. My players chose not to. And there's some notes for further play. And there's this thing called infection cards. You got to get the PDF and print these out in order to use them at the table. But basically, it's a lot like in this, where if you eat the candy, some body horror stuff might happen. In this case, if you drink the beer, some drunkenness horror stuff might happen. Like you think you're really fabulous. Or you think you're taller than you really are. So, yeah, pages and pages. So yeah, I gotta print these out in order to use them in a game. And here's a reference sheet for what all the cards do. So I ran it, and it was okay. It was not great. It was not horrible either. It's a nice little adventure that your players might like, especially if they're really, really into beer. I thought this one was more fun, much more colorful. And as a side note, the author, Kyo Chin-year, got mad at the publisher, and at the end of the year, when the rights to this go back to him, he's not going to allow this to be sold even in PDF form. So you might want to grab it while you can. And there's another Lamentations writer. When he heard about that, he said, I renounce all my stuff too. I'm going to stop selling it. So Fermentvm Nigrvm Dei Sepvlti. I can't even pronounce it right. It's the beer module.